We are watching every twist and turn in the story developments as we get them here. Canada's Prime Minister coming right out and calling this deadly shooting spree a brutal and violent act of terror from last night. Watch.
These events are a grim reminder that Canada is not immune to the types of terrorist attacks we have seen elsewhere around the world. But let there be no misunderstanding. We will not be intimidated. Canada will never be intimidated.
That from last evening in prime time, our own president a few hours earlier, about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, with cautious language here.
Well, we don't have enough information yet. So as we understand better exactly what happened, this obviously is something that we'll make sure to factor in the ongoing efforts that we have to counter terrorist attacks in our country. Obviously, we're all shaken by it, but we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we're standing side by side with Canada.
What about that contrast? Tucker Carlson, editor of Daily Caller, co-host of Fox and Friends Weekend. How are you, Tucker? And good morning to you. Did you notice a difference in tone? And
yeah.
What did you think?
Well, I would say they're both being disingenuous. Canada is intimidated and has every good reason to be. And the U.S. did have enough information. Hours before the president said we don't have enough information, we locked down the U.S. Embassy in Ottawa. Why? Because we had enough information to know that this was an expression of Islamic terror. This was a terror attack. We knew that. It wasn't an example of workplace violence. Canada has a real problem. Canada, because of its immigration policies, very liberal immigration policies, has the fastest growing Muslim population in the region. It's now the fastest growing religion in Canada. Toronto has more Muslims than any place in North America. And so they understand that, you know, there's a real risk. So yesterday, just for example, there were 2 events planned in Canada with the Nobel Prize winner, the 17-year-old Pakistani girl, pushing for more education for Islamic girls. Both of those were canceled. Both those events were canceled by the Canadian government, clearly caving. Out of fear, worried that, you know, events like that would spark more violence from Islamists.
Wow. I was not aware of that. A very interesting move on their part. Come back to the president, though. What he just said there, though, is that we have to counter terrorist attacks in our country. He kind of backed into it a little bit, right? Kind of laid into it. Didn't really just come out and make it the headline. But you know, the Canadians, this guy had a long rap sheet.
Right.
Well, once they identify him, they know who he is, and they've been watching him. They took his passport away, Tucker.
Exactly. And this, again, was all information that the U.S. government would have had as well and would be completely known to the president. I mean, it was obvious to anybody who was watching cable news yesterday pretty much exactly what was going on, and those early hunches were right. There is this belief, apparently, on the part of the Obama administration that if you don't say things out loud, perhaps they won't actually be real. Right? So if we don't identify something as an act of Islamic terror, maybe it wasn't. Or maybe we won't see further acts of Islamic terror. I think the evidence suggests that's the opposite of the way you ought to approach things like this. You ought to call things by their real names.
I wonder if we hear from him today, and well, Josh Earner said the briefing will probably get questions on it too. I think what comes back to mind is 2009 and the shooting in Fort Hood in Texas.
Exactly.
When it was labeled for workplace violence. When you had eyewitnesses with the gunman standing over there yelling Allah Akbar, and still to this day it's characterized as workplace violence. Now, why is that mentality still present in this administration today, Tucker?
Because saying it out loud seems mean to them. I mean, political correctness, you would think, wouldn't play any role at this level. When people are shooting other people, when you have discrete acts of terror, you would think concerns about hurting other people's feelings just wouldn't even factor into the equation. And yet it does. They don't want to seem like they are somehow biased against Islam, even radical Islam. Because, you know, that would be violating the basic tenet of modern liberalism, which is the West is bad, the rest of the world is morally superior to us. And anyone who, you know, doesn't hew to that is denounced as a bigot. I mean, you know the rules.
Yeah. Tucker, thanks. We're going to learn more about this as we go throughout the day. Tucker Carlson in Washington. And we'll see what we hear from the White House as well. You bet. Thank you, Mark.